This week in the world of sports, the Super Bowl beckons, Canton snubs Bill Belichik, and IndyCar comes to the nation's capital. This is the Monday Report, starting now. All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is Monday, February 2nd, 2026, and this is the Monday Report. I'm your host, H. James K., and today we're going to talk about the Super Bowl, we're going to talk about Bill Belichik, and we're going to talk about IndyCar. So right off the top, it's time to talk about Super Bowl 60. So in the NFC Championship, the Seattle Seahawks outlasted the Los Angeles Rams in an absolute classic of a game. It had everything. It had defense, offense, special teams, titanic highs and crushing lows for both teams. But in the end, the Seattle Seahawks were just better. They were the team that was better prepared for the game, and they executed better. I admittedly did not watch all of this game because I didn't really care about either team, to be truthful. But I made sure to watch some highlights, and I read up on the game, and we're going to give it a go. So in the AFC, the New England Patriots defeated the Denver Broncos, who were missing quarterback Bo Nix due to a broken ankle in the AFC divisional round. So this game was absolutely awful. So the final score, I forgot. I'm always so bad about that. Seattle defeated the Rams 31-27. So the Patriots defeated the Broncos 10-7, and the score was, I think it was 7-7 at halftime, and the Rams kicked a field goal in the second half. And it was basically, the weather was one thing in the first half, and then it started snowing in the middle of the third quarter, and it just never stopped until it was so bad that Jarrett Stidham, the Broncos' backup quarterback, could not see the New England Patriots defenders down the field because their jerseys, their uniforms matched the snow. That's how thick the snowfall was. So for the Broncos, it was like they couldn't push the ball down the field. They were really struggling to run the ball. Jarrett Stidham is definitely not Bo Nix, so the offense just wasn't dynamic. And the Patriots defense was just stifling. And Drake May had fewer passing yards than Jarrett Stidham, but he ran the ball extremely well and moved the chains when they absolutely had to, and that was what decided the game. All right, so the Super Bowl, which takes place this following Sunday, is taking place at Levi's Stadium, home of the San Francisco 49ers in Santa Clara, California. The game will be played on Sunday, February 8th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on NBC and Peacock. And I was really bummed when I realized that the Super Bowl is on my birthday, but man, if there had ever been a year for the Lions to go to the Super Bowl, this would have been it. Alas, that didn't happen. So the Seattle Seahawks are currently favored by 4.5, and last I checked, I saw the spread, the over under was like 48.5 points. So they're not expecting too crazy of a game, but they are expecting the Seahawks to win. What are the narratives heading into this game? So if you had to look at like the overarching narratives, I think the biggest one is, can Sam Darnold rewrite his narrative for good? Because up until this point, there's always been he's doing good, but wait until he goes pumpkin mode. Wait until he makes a mistake or he gets hit and he starts seeing ghosts, and that'll be it. He'll turn back into a pumpkin, it's the whole Cinderella thing. So last year he went 14-3 and they lost in the first round to the Rams when he was with the Vikings. This year they go 14-3 and they go all the way to the dang Super Bowl. And if he wins against the Patriots and wins a Super Bowl, then you almost have to put that whole narrative of, he's just going to turn into a pumpkin, You have to put that to bed. I mean, there's no way you can continue to not to call him not a serious quarterback if he's won a dang Super Bowl. And it's not like he's Trent Dilfer with the what was it, like the 2000 Baltimore Ravens or whatever, where they gave up like 3 points per game or whatever. It was like 9 points per game, I think, on defense, and it was all defense and brute strength that got them a Super Bowl win. This isn't like that. Darnold is throwing bombs. He's throwing haymakers. He played really, really, really well. And his wide receiver, Jackson Smith-Njigba, I'm pretty sure he led the league in receiving yards this year, which is impressive, considering there are other teams like the Rams who throw the ball a lot, and the Lions threw the ball a ton in 2025. For the if I had to give a narrative for the Patriots, it's, are the Patriots ready? Is Drake May ready? They're a young team. They got a new coach. Are they... How do I put this? Are the lights going to be too bright for them? Is the moment going to be too big? Is this too soon? Because, I mean, Kevin Wildes on First Things First on Fox Sports has been talking about how they're on the doorstep of destiny for like the last 2.5 months. But we have to ask the question, are the Patriots ready? Is this going to be a get there once and never get there again? Or is this the start of a new dynasty? And if it is the start of a new dynasty, is this the year when the dynasty really takes hold? Or is that next year and this is like, yeah, they got there this year, but maybe they weren't ready? Because the team isn't super deep. It's not super talented on offense. And Drake May is in only his second year, and it's very clear because he has played very badly in the playoffs. Now, admittedly, he's like second in MVP votes or first, second. I think it's going to be Stafford this year, but he finished second in MVP votes in my book. The narrative is definitely, are they ready? Is May ready? Is, Keyshawn Boutte or whatever his name is, the wide receiver, is he ready? Is this young team actually ready for the firestorm that they're going to be encountering against the Seahawks? Because this Seahawks team is ridiculous. They're like a buzzsaw that's got laser beams strapped to it. Key players. So for the Seattle Seahawks, I think it goes without saying that quarterback Sam Darnold is vital. If he has a good game, they'll win very easily. If he has a bad game, then it could get sporty. Now, I still think they can win if he has a bad game, but it could get very sporty against the Patriots because the Patriots have a very good defense. Another key player for the Seahawks, this one's kind of weird, but Kenneth Walker, the running back from Michigan State. Us Michigan fans know Kenneth Walker all too well, scoring 5 touchdowns in one game. It was awful. But anyway, I had to take a drink of water. Kenneth Walker is a really good back. And I think in this game, the team that is able to run the ball is the team that will win easily. Now, you have to have balance. Like if Darnold throws 5 interceptions, it isn't going to matter how many times you run the ball well. It's you're still going to lose. But the team that, and I'm not even talking about like, oh, they're getting like 7 yards per carry, but can you get 1 yard when you need it? Can you get 3 yards when you need to make a field goal a little shorter? Because I don't think either team is going to be able to like run the ball to win. But will they be able to squeak out a vital yard on the 1 yard line? The team that can do that is the team that's going to win this game. And I think Kenneth Walker is vital to that, just because if he has a bad game, it's going to be all on Darnold. And if it's all on Darnold, then the Patriots defense, which is an incredibly good defense, they'll feast, because they'll be able to pin their ears back and say, well, we don't have to worry about the run. So I think Walker is more vital than people are giving him credit for. On the Patriots side, obviously quarterback Drake May is a key player. That makes, you can't, if he plays bad, they have no shot of winning. It's just not going to happen. If he plays okay, they probably still won't win. But if he plays well, then they've got more than a puncher's chance. But I don't want to hound on Drake May too much, because I like Drake May, and admittedly he does fumble the ball too much, and he's a little loose with the football, but He's very efficient on the deep balls, and he's very aggressive, and he likes to push the ball down the field. And unlike the Denver Broncos game, this game is in warm weather, so he's going to be able to push the ball down the field. He has to have an efficient game, not a good game, an efficient game. He has to. I think if he can give them 180 yards and 1 touchdown and no interceptions, I think they can win. If he gives them 220 yards, 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions, or 1 touchdown and 2 fumbles lost, then they'll lose. I mean, yeah, he'll get more yards, but I think the turnovers will be the bigger decider. The yards won't matter because I think this game is going to be, you had 4 possessions that got you into scoring range, you scored on 3 of them. It's going to be one of those kind of games. So, other than Drake May, I have Harold Landry. So, obviously, Harold Landry is a great defensive player for the Patriots, but I think the linebacking core of the Patriots is going to have to make a lot of hay because if they let, on the one hand, they're going to have to help the defensive line get pressure because if they let Darnold throw, just sit back in the pocket and throw, he'll dice them up like a brain surgeon. But at the same time, the linebackers are going to have to do so much like in traffic, helping take away Jackson Smith and Jigba and help take away some of the underneath stuff that they like to do with their running backs. So if Harold Landry has a really good game, I think that speaks well to their defense because he's their leading tackler. He's I'd argue the best defender on the team. So if he has a good game, then the Patriots defense, which is already an elite defense, can pull this off. All right, keys to the game. Can Drake May play like he did in the regular season? Can he throw the ball down the field, take care of the football, and make explosive plays? If he can do those things, he can win. If he can't do those things, it's going to be a long day. The other thing is, can the Patriots defense make Darnold see ghosts and revert to his previous form? Can they break the spell? So if the Patriots are going to win, they're going to have to show the world that Darnold was a fraud and he was just waiting to go pumpkin mode, and he's never going to be that guy. That's, I would argue, the only way that they can really pull this off is if they disrupt Darnold to such an extent that he looks like a fraud and he's just not effective and they can't rely on him. Because if they let him play like he's been playing, they'll lose. Straight up. Now, what is my prediction? I am predicting that the Seattle Seahawks are going to win the Super Bowl 16-9. Yes, they're going to give the Allen family one more Super Bowl win before they have to sell the team. More on that later. Now, let's talk about Bill Belichik. So, for those of you who have been living under a rock, the Pro Football Hall of Fame voted, and Bill Belichik did not get in the Hall of Fame on his first ballot. The man who was clearly a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I'm going to continue calling him a first ballot Hall of Famer because this is an injustice. He failed to get the 40 out of 50 votes required for him to get in the Hall of Fame. He fell at, the rumor is he fell a single vote short. Now, we do know that one of the people who voted against him is a man named Valle Gregorian, and Valle Gregorian works for the Kansas City Star, I think. He is the official voting representative of the Kansas City Chiefs. You know, every team has a guy from the press that they nominate as their voter. So he's the one, and he voted not against Bill Belichik, but he voted for the 3 senior members in the Hall of Fame. So the way it works is you've got like contemporary players who are up for the Hall of Fame, and that's one category. And then you've got what are called senior players as well as contributors and coaches. Now, contributors are everyone who's not an actual coach. That's owners, GMs, equipment staff, broadcasters, those kind of types. And then you also have the coaches in this kind of mishmash, mosh pit category. So the way it works is you get 5. You narrow it down to five candidates. You get a contributor, a coach, and 3 seniors. Now, the seniors these are guys who have been up for the Hall of Fame longer than 25 years. And for these senior guys, it's pretty much assumed that once you get up to a vote in the senior category, if you don't make it, you're not getting in the Hall of Fame because it's unlikely that you're getting another chance. So you have to vote for 3 of the 5. And we know for a fact that Valle Gregorian, according to himself, he said this on his radio show, he voted for the 3 senior members because he felt it would be a tragedy if they didn't get in the Hall of Fame. Now, mind you, these are guys who have been passed over like 25 times. So how worthy really are they? But God, my fingers are killing me. But that was his reasoning. Now, there are rumors that some of the other people's reasoning was Spygate, punishing him for Spygate and Deflategate, even though Deflategate was a lie. It was totally a fraudulent narrative based on an improper understanding of how science works. But Spygate, there are talk that maybe they say, he needs to wait a year. And while we haven't seen anyone actually say that that's why they voted for him, what I think is more likely is everyone just assumed that he was going to get enough votes. So 11 people said, I'm going to vote for someone else because, obviously he's going to get in. It's not going to matter that my vote didn't vote for him. And then enough people did that, and oops, now he's not in the Hall of Fame on this first ballot. Now the problem is, by this logic and the precedent this sells, if this was because of Spygate, then how is it that Robert Kraft is going to get, the owner of the Patriots, is going to get into the Hall of Fame this year? Doesn't make any sense. And if this is the precedent they're sending, how does Brady get in on the first ballot? He's the greatest football player to ever live, but he played for the Patriots. So if that's the reasoning, then that blows up the Hall of Fame's credibility. Now, the other theory some people are having is the fact that Robert Kraft, who hates Bill Belichik, they had an ugly falling out back in 2023. The rumor is, after 2023, I should say, the rumor is that he didn't want Belichick on the stage with him that year. There was a possibility that he could have been the contributor and Belichick could have been the coach, and one senior got in along with however many other Hall of Famers they put in. And what this would have done is it would have put them up on the same time, and there's rumors that maybe he wouldn't have wanted that. Now, obviously, I don't think we'll ever know who voted because the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio doesn't share that information. Now, I guess you could probably do a FOIA request, maybe. No, you couldn't because that's a government thing. Yeah, you'd have to sue the Hall of Fame for the vote tally, but I don't think you'd ever get it in court. So this whole thing destroys the credibility of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's just, what a shame. If Bill Belichick isn't the first ballot Hall of Famer, then who the hell is? And there's now a practical problem because there is no way Bill Belichick isn't getting in next year. That's not happening. No way. Which means all of the coaches who might have gotten in next year are going to have to wait at least 1 year. That pushes everyone down the line. Oh yeah, this thing is snafu. It's bad. It is total foobar. So, and it begs the question for guys like, Tom Coughlin and Andy Reid whenever Andy Reid retires, and some of these other guys who are surefire first ballot Hall of Famers, how can they be if Belichick isn't a Hall of Famer on his first ballot? Regardless of why it happened or how it happened, it happened. So, if the man who was third overall in win percentage has 6 Super Bowl wins as a head coach and 2 Super Bowl wins as a defensive coordinator, if that man isn't the first ballot Hall of Famer, how is any other coach? It's a mess. All right, moving on. So, for those of you who don't know, President Donald John Trump signed an executive order commanding Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy and Interior Secretary Doug Burgum to do everything required to bring the NTT IndyCar Series to Washington, D.C. in the middle of August to hold an IndyCar race around the nation's capital in front of the National Mall and the Supreme Court and all this other stuff. So the race is going to be called the Freedom 250 or the America 250 GP. We don't know. It's the name is kind of amorphous, but it's going to be a Grand Prix in Washington, D.C. on August 21st to August 23rd. It's going to be a 3-day event, which is how IndyCar works. So for those of you who don't know, the NTT IndyCar Series is an open-wheel, single-seater, open cockpit racing series that runs on oval tracks like NASCAR and on street circuits and road courses. It is the top domestic open wheel series in America. It is the third most popular motorsport in America right now, probably. I think you'd have to argue that Formula One is more popular, and NASCAR is definitely more popular than IndyCar. So, that is the series. Now, what details do we have? It will be sandwiched in between several other races. So IndyCar has a pretty packed schedule in that last 5 weeks, and there was going to be this 1 week gap, August 21st to 23rd, before I think it's 3 more races or 3 more race weekends, maybe, or 3 more races. I think that's how that works. I haven't actually glanced at the schedule in some time because it's been the off season. But what this is going to mean now is they're going to have, instead of having 17 races in the season like they always do, they're going to have an 18th race filling in that gap week. So they're going to have 5 straight races. Bang, 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 bang. And initially there had been a fear that maybe they would take one of the races from the event in Milwaukee, because the Milwaukee IndyCar race at the Milwaukee Mile is a doubleheader. So there was talk that, if they're going to stay at 17, do they take away one of the races from Milwaukee? But instead, it's going to be a points-paying race and an additional race, giving the schedule 18 events for 2026. The race will be broadcast on Fox, like all other IndyCar races are these days, and it will be free admittance. Now, as a diehard IndyCar fan who's been to like dozens of races over the years, I have no idea how that's going to work. Are they going to set up grandstands and it's first come first serve? Are the tickets just going to be free? Or are there going to be no grandstands? It's just going to be come and sit where you like? I mean, I don't know how it works. I don't know how it's going to work, because usually you have drivers on the viewers mound. You have spectators on viewers mounds on road courses and on grandstands. But this is in the middle of Washington, D.C. Are they going to put up grandstands? We don't really know. And the fact that usually these races get announced about 2 years ahead of time, and this one's coming out in like 7 months. Man, my voice is failing me. It's crazy. I don't know how that's going to work. I'm excited because, yay, extra IndyCar, and yay, a race celebrating IndyCar, celebrating America's 250th birthday. It's a huge, massive boon for the IndyCar series. But there's a real possibility that it's a total shit show. There's a real possibility that fans can't get in, or it's too political and there are protests, or IndyCar puts on a really boring race, or all three, or it's too hot, or it's rainy and no one shows up. Who knows? There are so many possible problems. And another thing is, we have no idea what the track is going to look like. We don't know. Now, the executive order did say that Sean Duffy, along with Doug Burgum, as Transportation Secretary and Interior Secretary, respectively, along with other relevant parties, are going to come up with a track in the next 2 weeks. And that was about 4 days ago. So they've got 10-ish days to come up with a track. Now, I would hope that they would consult with IndyCar's people, because they got guys like Tony Cotton, who and several other people who help design their street circuits when they do these temporary road courses. So I would hope that they would consult with that, but we don't know. Now, it'll be interesting to see now if in like 10 days or 10 or 12 days they come out with a race circuit and it looks like it's going to be a good circuit, then man, boogity, boogity, boogie, let's go racing, to, quote Darrell Waltrip. But it remains to be seen. I think it's probably going to be a bit of a shit show, but it's going to be so hot that time of year that we're not interested in going. It's going to be crazy trying to go to that thing. But to those who do go, enjoy yourselves. I will be happily watching on my television. All right, let's get to some quick hits. So Tyson Fury is coming out of retirement again, to fight Arslanbek Makhmudov. Now, I don't know anything about Arslanbek Makhmudov other than the fact that he's Chechen. Now, the reason you can tell he's Chechen is because his name is Makhmudov, which is Mahmoud, but Russified. So, for those who don't know, Chechnya, a small, tiny little region / pseudo country in the Caucasus, is overwhelmingly white, but overwhelmingly Muslim. They're Russian Muslims. They're the strangest people ever, and it's a tiny, poor dictatorship of a country, and they have a lot of boxers coming out of Chechnya. A lot of them. Tons and tons and tons of them. So Arslanbek Makhmudov, he's fighting Tyson Fury. Now, it'll be interesting to see if Tyson Fury still has his speed, because he was never really much of a power puncher. So, yeah, I won't pay-per-view because I don't do that, but I will be interested to see how it turns out. Let's just put it that way. Now, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the basketball player from Greece who plays for the Milwaukee Bucks, it looks like his exit from Milwaukee is inevitable. So things have soured with him and the staff. Things have soured between him and the fans. It's getting dysfunctional. He's not playing, and it's just... This has been kind of slowly brewing for like the last 18 months, but it looks like it's finally coming to a head. Now, I don't think that's going to happen during the season, but I would put money on it that will happen during the offseason. The Bucks will trade him to somebody for a gajillion draft picks and players, because he is one of those guys. He's a superstar. The Detroit Red Wings, Patrick Kane, he broke Mike Modano's record for the most points scored by an American in the history of the NHL. He tied Modano at 500 earlier last week, and then quickly broke the record in the next game. He's got over 500 now. I think he's got like 501 or 502, somewhere in there. I never would have pictured Patrick Kane being the guy to be records, but he's just been quietly a great Detroit Red Wing for many, many, many years. On the college football front, Duke and quarterback Darian Mensah have settled. So for those who don't know, Duke had a quarterback named Darian Mensah, and they signed him to a 2-year NIL deal thing, and then he said, "No, I'm jumping in the transfer portal." And they took him to court, and in the end, the two parties settled in court, and now Mensah has jumped in the transfer portal and is going to Miami for a big fat check, which basically means that all of these talk about how we have a contract doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean shit. It's useless. It's not even worth the paper it's printed on, which blows me. How can you have a contract that's non-enforceable? But whatever. Either way, it looked like it might be a drawn-out court case. They settled. Now he's off to Miami. Now, Darian Mensah is a solid quarterback, but I don't know if he's going to be like Carson Beck or Cam Ward before that. Let me put it this way. He plays for Duke, and Duke hasn't won anything. So what does that tell you? The only things I've ever heard about this guy is the fact that he's transferring. There are those who talk about him as a solid QB, but he's never been one of those guys, if you know what I mean. Like Carson Beck transferring to Miami is like, oh, he's one of those guys. He is that guy. But Darian Mensah, So, we'll see. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Seattle Seahawks will be going up for sale after the Super Bowl. So, for those who don't know, the Seattle Seahawks were founded by Paul Allen, the co-founder of Microsoft, and Paul Allen died in 2018 of cancer, and his estate run by his wife, has been running the team in his stead. Now, the NFL doesn't like teams being run by estates. Paul Allen wanted the team sold so that the money made from the deal could be given out to a select charities. It's in his will. And yet, I mean, it's been like 7 years and the team is still not sold. Yeah, 7 years. So the word on the street is the NFL is fining the Seahawks $5 million for not selling, for not abiding by the ownership requirements for the league, and the league is going to be up for sale. Now, admittedly, I would, if I had to throw out a number for where I think it's going to sell, I'd pay probably $7 or $8 billion is where I think the number will end up. It's not the Cowboys who are worth like 10, but if they win a damn Super Bowl, then yeah, they're going to be worth like $7 or $8 billion to whoever, Now, with our luck, it'll be the Saudis who buy the Seahawks and move them to Riyadh or something like that. But, some bazillionaire, maybe Elon Musk, the Seattle X's, whatever. But the team is up for sale. They're going to be up for sale. Now, that process might take 2 or 3 years. I mean, the Denver Broncos sale, that took a while. So it's definitely a wait and see when it comes to the Seattle Seahawks. But, they're going to win the Super Bowl this coming weekend. So, yay, Seattle. All right, for those of you listening on Apple Podcasts and everywhere else podcasts are available, thank you. For those of you watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell to get notifications. Help feed the algorithm. Next week, we'll recap the Super Bowl and pick up on more sporting news around the country. All right. My name is H. James K. Thank you all for tuning in. Until next time.